If you not want betrayal, find a friend like me. Find a friend like me. Find a friend like me. If you not want betrayal, find a friend like me. Bombe oh, find a friend like me. Bombe Jenny oh, find a friend like me. Bombe, find a friend like me. Bombe Jenny oh, find a friend like me.
So the government know. A letter was written in deception. You did not even included the caption of your. So the government know. A letter was written in deception. You did not even included the caption of your.
You understand? And they thought that how somebody can do that. But George Weah, what the people love, and the negotiator will love you. Going after, nobody will go after. Because we're not protesting, we're not faking. You understand? Because you can't meet what you thought you can do, you laugh on one small boss and they steal money for you. The religious people in the country, you can see that they are really praying. Not doing very well. Not doing very well. Not doing very well. Not doing very well. They are continuing to pray. They have to go and do my own church. They are continuing to pray. All of the people here, they are all passing by. They don't have reverence, they don't have the quality, they don't have leadership. Talk about. Because these are people that are not successful. And I want to angry. You understand? It's not the most. Today, if I'm not here, trust me, you will see me the same way. Everything that you think you will still have it. The way that I'm doing them, before we came here, look at our lives. People trying to manipulate. I'm impressed. I'm not blow program. I tell you, people are watching home, I blow program. So people don't impress me. Especially people that you bring people every day when they're ready. They want to blackmail you. Anybody that don't want to vote for us will not be blackmailed. Anybody that will ask me for money because they're going to declare for my party, I'd rather get money to the people that are when you can speak to them on the table now, they're going on air, you ever let somebody want to kill somebody? Yes, sir. But you forgot to know that those that you killed already, the people that maybe they're going to kill, they're not going to manipulating people every day. Are you infallible? Okay, we know not working for you again, you can go where you want to go. Now you can say, government market, no government will pay you. Do you know why you get in the country? We're trying to make sure that everybody wants to do something. You understand? So, and we're not afraid of anybody. And the government is going to be tied, neither or blackmailed by anybody. You don't want to work with us? You want to sign up. You like other people. And you got to know that the people, you think coalition, and that coalition brought everybody on board. If you the leader of the coalition is leaving, you got to deal with all your people. Those are in the job because we're moving and poor people that are coming. Oh, we're leaving all that work. You must know that their own livelihood, they're not follow them. They got to stick for your own livelihood and your children and your family. Don't mind them. Don't mind them. When you follow them, because you think that they can drive you, then other people that come in, you got to give them space. This of everybody business. And not one person business. And will not pay faster than anybody to not support us.
It's a government of Bureau that has no interest in the future of this country. This is the microcosm of the larger society. This is where young men have the responsibility to provide the next best alternative of this country. And you are subjecting us to an environment where we struggle every day to acquire tertiary education. You are subjecting us to an environment where young people have to pay $50 a work to go to school, where if you're in laboratories, there is no access to quality facility. It is the government we elected, the government and the administration of the University of Liberia conspire against the students. And today we'll say, yeah, Mr. Weah is a failure, Mr. Weah has failed the student. We will rally concerted effort to make Weah one-term president. He is a complete contradiction. All along he has promoted audacity, deception to the students. We will resist anything that has the propensity and audacity to stop more than 2,000 students for the University.
So apart from your institution putting up on this, what has been some of the information with the administration?
There have been a lot of information. I'm telling you that there were students who say, more especially those who are victims of the provisional process. They talk to the street and we're going to provide leadership. It's our goal. We're going to provide leadership. The students are the ones who are victimized. And they're going to the street to provide leadership. So we are here again to reaffirm that if the University of Liberia cannot adhere to the call of the students, more than 2,000 students, we will resist it and will continuously resist.
How can you resist that? You resist.
You're going to fight. So to them no learning.
There be food, they country we need change. There be food, they country. There be food, they country we need change. First,
it's the government of Bureau that has no interest in the future of this country. This is the microcosm of the larger society. This is where young men have the responsibility to provide the next best alternative of this country. And you are subjecting us to an environment where we struggle every day to acquire tertiary education. You are subjecting us to an environment where young people have to pay $50 a work to go to school, where if you're in laboratories, there is no access to quality facility. It is the government we elected, the government and the administration of the University of Liberia conspire against the students. And today we'll say, yeah, Mr. Weah is a failure, Mr. Weah has failed the student. We will rally concerted effort to make Weah one-term president. He is a complete contradiction. All along he has promoted audacity, deception to the students. We will resist anything that has the propensity and audacity to stop more than 2,000 students for the University.
So apart from your institution putting up a release, what has been some of the information with the administration?
There have been a lot of information. I'm telling you that there were students who say in order to know more, especially those who are victims of the provisional process. They talk to the street and we're going to provide leadership. It's our goal. We're going to provide leadership. The students are the ones who are victimized. And they're going to the street to provide leadership. So we are here again to reaffirm that if the University of Liberia cannot adhere to the call of the students, more than 2,000 students, we will resist it and will continuously resist.
How can you resist that? You resist.
You're going to fight. So today, no learning.
There before they control, we need change. First, during early administration, they were 100% better. We were not playing on the street. Maybe when you see going on before that, only intern, which was Don Bosco boys. This administration, majority of the youth, they are poor, so too plenty on the street. Some days when somebody get up on the way, even if you go to see another group coming, you go to see another group coming.
So what caused the people?
Thank you. Because administration, what they told us that they were going to do for us, the first thing they told us they were going to be a rehabilitation center. They told us they were going to bring change to our life. And they went up there, they advocated for almost $10 million to come and settle us with the disadvantaged youth. They're getting the money,
So when they share money, where you say you can help you?
No, that's what we need. We don't need money. We don't need money.
Money can help us. Money can help us. Money can help us.
People who go to school, want to send people to vocational school, that will bring you back and get your job. Because if you can take care of yourself, then you can have family, take care of your family. Then you can bring
Yes. As for me now, President, as I told you, I'm a high school graduate. But I need to learn trade. I need to learn trade where.
If I look at that, so what are you doing? Why your parents are? Why you married? Can you your man number?
086.
You're 86?
Just the other day, I was here, and just the other day, I was here, and I danced the Buka dance, right? But everybody said, look at the belly, but I see you, man, go dance Buka dance. But guess what? Go on the internet. All of them are saying the men fully them with the destiny in their hand. But everybody
they won't step on my blessing, but God can break it. They won't call in my blessing, but God can break it.
Friendship, see friendship. Can't see property friendship. I don't want no bad for friendship. I don't want no wedding friendship. Wangolo, Wango for Bessie, Wango for Daddy, Wangolo.
I hear them say they want me go, I say I hear them say they want me go, I say
It's the 6th day of February 2023. This is Punch TV. This is the program Trending Issues. My name is Vanny Dix. I'd like to welcome you. If you are there in the diaspora, here in Liberia, wheresoever you are, This is trending issues on the favorite there. This is Punch TV coming to you live from Liberia. Find a friend like me. Word of war ensues between Senator Prince Johnson and His Excellency President George Manneh Weah. Both actors are using their puppets to respond to each other. What is the purpose of the puppet? Is it for soul winning or for political purpose? CDC, hell, it's much heralded. February 4th nomination program at the ATS. The party sees it as a success. So we're going to be sharing our thought on that. We're going to talk about the situation also ensuing between Senator Prince Johnson and President George Manneh Weah. This is the program Trending Issue. Coming up shortly, we'll share our thought on these issues. Subsequently, we'll have actors from the civil society community this afternoon on the program. Ahead of the October election, what are civil society organizations doing to ensure a credible process, to ensure election integrity? Voices from Liberia's leading civil society organization will be on the platform this afternoon. From IRED, from Integrity Watch, Liberia Elections Observation Network, and the Elections Coordinating Committee will be here this afternoon. They will express their thought as well on the EPS officers that were seen on Saturday campaigning for President George Weah. Later on, Isaac Jackson, former Deputy Information Minister, will sit on the platform to talk a number of issues ranging from the economy and governance. We expected to have paid host to the chairperson on the Senate Standing Committee on Intelligence and Defense, Lofa County Senator Steve Zago. But that interview will be held on Wednesday. I can assure you of that. So still, this is Trending Issue, Punch TV Live. My name is Vanny Dix. Welcome. And so again, I'd like to say welcome to the program. This is Trending Issue on Punch TV. Not much to waste your time. On Saturday, we all witnessed the CDC program that was convened at the Antoinette Totman Stadium. That was a re-nomination program for His Excellency President George Manneh Weah. Supporters of President Weah have since characterized that program as a success, and opposition figures have also been weighing in on the situation at the ATS. But here is my thought. The program at the ATS, in my fair view, was not a success. Many of the folks that we saw at the ATS, that we interacted with, we were made to understand, just as it is being posted on Facebook, the issue of financial inducement to farm people at the ATS. This happened from one community to the other. In my community in Hotel Africa, where I live, the folks that are involved with the Beach and Waterways project, the old ladies, young folks, they were coerced to be a part of that process. I saw pickups filled with CDC t-shirts. I saw pickups filled with rice. And we saw people dishing out funds to folks in the Hotel Africa belt. The people were threatened that if they did not form part of the exercise on Saturday, there would have been consequences regarding their involvement in the beach and waterways exercise. I did not receive this information from a third party. But standing there and seeing people being threatened, I was like, wow, this is not the CDC that Liberians have known over the years, from 2005 to now, for citizens to even be purchasing or the CDC to be producing clothes for people to wear. This was not the case back in 2005 and 2017 elections. We saw citizens bringing their own t-shirts. The glaring reality is that the momentum that President Weah had in 2005, as well as the 2017 election, indisputably, that momentum has dropped very considerably. The CDC that once pulled people voluntarily is no longer the CDC. So there is no one that can tell me that the people that we saw, that was a genuine motivation of the people. This is not the CDC that we once saw back in 25 and 2017 elections. Back in 25 and 2017, President Weah did not have anything that CDC could measure him by. Prior to 2017 election and prior to this time, there was not a CDC that would tell you I'm dissatisfied in President Weah, because there was nothing to measure him by. But today, there are many people that tell you that I'm dissatisfied in President Weah. That alone tells you momentum has dropped very considerably. So nobody can tell me that. We'll discuss this intertwined with the issue with Senator Johnson and President Weah. I see President Weah's action as gross deception on the part of a leader. And we have said this repeatedly, that when you want to see the true character of a person, give them power. When did President Weah realize that Senator Johnson is a killer? It was only when Senator Johnson refused to give vote to President Weah. That was when we saw the CDC branding Senator Johnson as a killer. That tells you the vice president that President Weah is currently having on board, immediately she decides to part way with President Weah, that's when he's going to align her with the former President Charles Taylor. That's when we're going to see that. But for now, he doesn't see that with Joel Howard Taylor. The moment she decides to leave the coalition, that's when she's going to be branded as the wife of a killer. Mark my word on this. The moment Madam Joel Howard Taylor leaves the CDC, that's when President Weah is going to brand her as the wife of a former killer. The momentum of the CDC has dropped. President Weah has disappointingly demonstrated deception as a leader to have secured vote through Senator Johnson. And then now that you people are having some rift, that's the time you see him and say he's a killer. So only now that you know Senator Johnson is a killer. This is deception. The situation that we witnessed on Saturday with arm-carrying EPS officials wearing the t-shirts of President Weah, campaigning for him openly. This is abuse of state power. This is creeping dictatorship. This is creeping dictatorship in our country in broad daylight. The security sector must at all times maintain neutrality in the society. What confidence does the EPS expect succeeding leaders to have in the EPS to provide protection for them. If President Weah doesn't win the election in 2023, the EPS are simply communicating to the succeeding president that you need to dissolve this EPS or reform the EPS, because no leader is going to feel secure in the hands of the current officials in the EPS. And when we say these things, you are branded as an opposition of the government, even when you are being objective in your fair thought. That's how people are going to view you. At no point in time did we see under President Sirleaf that a member of the elite force will wear President Sirleaf's campaign t-shirt in the public. This is gross abuse of public office. And I know that there were some officials in the EPS that wouldn't have wanted to do that. But how can you not do it in the eyes of the president when other officials are wearing the president t-shirt? Then you there in the EPS say you will not wear it. And that's what we saw on Saturday. William Dake in District 17, one other lawmaker in another district, one minister, making sure they want to prove to the president that they can pull number for him. And you threaten people that are involved with the beach and waterway project that if they do not form part of the exercise, that you're going to take action against them. And you lying to the old man and old papa then that you increase their stipends on the beach and waterways project. What kind of society have we degenerated into? In opposition, you say one thing. You take state power and you are another thing. Indeed, power has a way of bringing out the true character and intent of a person. This is what we see with President Weah. Abuse of state power, gross deception in broad daylight. You wine and dine with Prince Johnson in opposition. His vote was a commodity that you triumph on and purchase people onto winning in the 2017 election. Only now that he said he's not going to be with you, and you're branding him as a killer. And like I'm saying, the day Madam Joy Howard Taylor decides to leave President Weah's party, she's going to be seen in that light as well. She's going to be seen in that light as well. So again, like we have said, the action of the EPS officials must be condemned, not should, but must be condemned in a democratic space like ours. Our democracy is being threatened by a leader that is abusing state power. A leader that seems to be intoxicated with state power and abuses state power as well. That action must be condemned by any well-being Liberians. Our democracy is under threat by a leader that was once viewed as a peace ambassador. And like the statement, the MDR has responded, let me say this, to the statement of President Weah. The MDR in that communication, and one part I already took interest in is when they described President Weah as a vindictive leader, because President Weah has threatened to remove on board all of the officials from MDR who are in his government. That as long as Senator Johnson does not support you, we're going to take you off board. We'll continue with the analysis on the program, but let me not keep my guests waiting. We'll bring them on bit by bit, and I bring in Augustine Tamba as well on the platform. Let us now run to our guests on the platform and have them coming in bit by bit this afternoon. Like I said, we will certainly continue with the discussion this afternoon on the program. This is Trending Issue, and we will run for this brief break, and when we come back, we'll have our guests on the platform. But trust me, we're going to keep talking about this action that happened on Saturday, as well as President Weah's position on the MDR.
French, see French, can't see Papa T French. And I want no back for French. And I want now where the French. Wambolo, Wambolo, Wambo Babette, Wambo for Daddy, Wambolo.
Then say they want me go, I say. Then say they want me go, I say.
Some French some French some French my bestie, your bestie, la bestie,
bestie, wanting to happy, bestie, money, I don't need my friend.
You got money left, Johnny. You funny. Yeah. It's.
If you not want to betray us, fine friend, let me. If you not want to betray us, fine friend, let me.
Thank you for joining us on the platform. Thank you for joining us on the platform. This is a trending issue on your favorite online platform, Punch TV. Wherever you are, I'd like to say welcome to the program. We've been joined in studio by Mr. Augustine Tamba. He's from the Nigeria Election Observation Network, that's NIO for short. I'm hearing myself repeatedly in the headphone. I hope, okay, I think it's much better. Okay. Augustine, welcome, brother.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vanny. And I'm happy to be in your studio.
Okay.
Especially this is my debut appearance on Punch FM. I'm delightful to forming part of your show this afternoon.
Okay. I'm hoping that Matthias Yene will join us on the platform, and also the representative from Integrity Watch, Harold Marvin, on this afternoon. But let us start with you.
I think I'm here, except that my video is not on, but I'm here.
Yeah, please put the camera on, Chief, so the viewers can see you. I sent you a text earlier for you to have the camera on. We're not seeing you. Your screen is blank. Yeah, it has to do with the camera. Okay.
Okay, I hope this is okay.
Yeah, thank you, Chief. So if you are just joining us, this is Punch TV. The program is Trending Issue. Joining us shortly will also be the head of Integrity Watch this afternoon. Mr. Yene, welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being on Punch TV. I know you've been through a lot coming here as an organization. And I just want to say congratulations on the case you've won. I think it's next session, and I'm happy to be here as on your studio as my debut, and happy to be joined with my colleagues also from Metamba and all those who's going to be on this interview. Thank you.
Yeah, Oscar Blow as well supposed to be joining us on the platform subsequently. But let me start off with you, Augustine, in studio. Elections will be held in October, which of course is not a news to many of us. I would like to know from your end, which will be the same question that is going to come to IRET as well. What have you been involved with to ensure that the civil society organization Leon plays a very pivotal role in ensuring a credible and peaceful electoral process in October?
Well, again, thank you, Vani. And let me say good afternoon to my colleague, Matthias Yene, and all of our colleagues who are going to be joining us subsequently. The Liberia Election Observation Network, basically to begin with, is a platform of 4 civil society organizations that is the Federation of Liberian Youth, the Liberia National Union of Organizations of the Disabled. You have the Liberia Crusaders for Peace and the Catholic Justice and Peace Commission.
Okay.
So we were established in 2017, and since 2017 up to now, we've been able to actively make our presence felt in our democratic processes across the country. And these elections are actually critical elections for us at the level of the Liberia Election Observation Network. And so prior to now, upon the pronouncement by the National Election Commission sometimes last year that they were going to conduct the biometric voter registration exercise, the Liberia Election Observation Network immediately began the process of following up all of the processes leading towards the conduct of the October 2023 elections. So what we did in that, after the NEC made her pronouncement, we were quickly able to do a kind of roundtable discussion on the biometric voter registration exercise. And we were able to develop a position paper relative to what experts around the continent think that an effective voter biometric voter exercise should entail, and the time frame it should entail, the resources involved, the actors involved into the entire process. And so we began the process. Some 1 year, prior to now. But as we're drawing closer to the elections in October, Leon actually has permanently deployed across the country 73 long-term observers. These long-term observers are...
They've been deployed already.
We have them deployed since 2019. But as we move along the election period, basically we activate them along electoral issues. But currently what our long-term observers...
What are they doing?
Okay, so they are observing trending economic and political issues across the country. So they are basically informing us at the level of the National Secretariat on issue of inflation, on issue of political involvement of the legislature in the counties, on issue of security insecurity around the country, and we are picking those things up as a civil society organization and trying to link it to our democratic process. In addition to that, Leon is also observing social media. We are actually involved into social media monitoring. And the essence of us monitoring social media, every one of us across the globe understand fully well that social media now is a new phenomenon and that affects nearly every aspect of our well-being as human beings. But particularly around election period, social media plays a very pivotal role when you talk about misinformation, disinformation, the issue of spreading falsehood. Social media actually play a very critical role. So
let me take you back, because the answer you provide, what you say now is an answer to a question that I have jotted down. But in your introductory comment, you talk about engaging with international partners on this biometric exercise.
Yeah.
So what did you gather and what did you inform NEC as concerning the biometric process as to whether it is possible, it could be effective ahead of the October election?
So there were few issues that we actually highlighted in our position
Some
paper.
of which?
One has to do with the timeliness of the conduct of a biometric voter registration. We believed at the time that for a country to get involved into the conduct of a biometric voter registration, there should be time enough and allotted to.
How many years?
So quite recently, I was in Kenya, and that specific question was asked one of the election commissions of Kenya. And what they indicated to us that happened in Kenya, they said that it took them approximately 2 years for preparation, but it was just the issue of preparation. What eventually they did in order for them to have a very successful biometric voter registration exercise or the application of biometric voter registration tools was the fact that they had to do a sample of the biometric voter registration. The biggest question for us as Liberians is that, have we tried that in our country?
Okay, like a pilot project.
Yeah, like a pilot project where you will be able to
and see how effective.
At the end of that, you'll be able to evaluate the effectiveness. I mean, what are the challenges? All of the tools, ready. So
that has not been done.
That has not been done, and that was one of our recommendations. The other recommendation that we made in our opposition paper was basically awareness. Awareness around the entire process, and all by itself. Now, if citizens are not fully informed as to what is needed and what constitutes biometric voter registration, what biometric voter registration is, what biometric voter registration is not, what problem are we intending to solve by the introduction of biometric voter registration, all of the efforts that we are applying, as a country might just go, because of lack of awareness. We also made a proposal in that position paper that most often when new technologies are being introduced, it comes with its own associated challenges. Now, that challenge or those challenges, some of which may include the issue about capacity building, the issue about ownership of the entire system. And it's from the background where at times even vendor try to have this vendor lock system where you are easily not able to leave the vendor and because of some of the conditions that they apply. So those are some of our concerns as we move towards the biometric voter registration. Our concern was, what is the roadmap put in place by the National Election Commission, for instance, for Liberians to take over the entire exercise, so that after 2023, moving forward, we'll have capable Liberians trained to taking over the exercise.
It is, before I come to IRED, Matthias, it is a big issue with the biometric process because people are even concerned. I follow a very huge debate in the US at the time concerning high costs involving in the process. There is a possibility that these machines could be hacked, people could manipulate data. So you want to know the effectiveness, you want to get real understanding on how this is really going to be effective in the electoral process. So you actually right about that. Let me bring in Mr. Yende on this one. From IRED's own position, what have you been involved with? Elections will be held in October. What have you been involved with?
Thank you, Vani. And let me say, we've been involved with a lot of things. Women political participation, being involved with the passage of the new elections law, the amendment to the new elections law, as with the 30%, gender quota that we have placed there. The frustrating part is that the law hasn't been signed into, the bill hasn't been signed into law by the president. We are still hoping that we
printing into handbill.
president can sign that law so that Liberians, especially Liberian women, can fully participate along with their male counterparts into the electoral processes and being nominated by political parties, void of them putting money forward or void of any inequality issues around their representation. So we've done that along with other partners, Leon involved, the ECC, which is the Electoral Elections Coordinating Committee, also involved, and other civil society organizations. So we've done that over the time. We are also a member of the Elections Coordinating Committee, as I told you, steering committee member, and we've done a lot of work having meetings with NEC to provide updates to us on where are they with the electoral processes. We also meeting with the security sector on election security, which is a key issue, moving towards the electoral process. There has been issue about violence. How is it that the security sector is going to, make sure that these violent scenes that were created during the past elections, do not reoccur. We've also been supporting, women who want to participate in the coming elections, do with political participation and economic empowerment. So we are, as an institution, we are working with women who want to contest and providing some economic empowerment to them so that it enables them to contest in the elections this year. So those are a few of the things we've been doing. We've been tracking abuse of incumbency and holding to some of the things that happened on Saturday with security apparatus wearing, party T-shirts with government officials using official vehicles for political rallying, political campaigns. So we're tracking those things. We're going to release reports on them in the coming weeks. So those are things we've been doing. We've been working with Leon and through the ECC to making sure we be clear on our process of voting. Time I talk about the BVR, it is quite strange that in Liberia is our first time to experience, and try the system, and we are doing it we are doing a pilot test of it in major elections. I was recently in Nigeria on a solidarity and an election solidarity mission, and then Nigeria is going to use, and IFA has been using the biometric voter registration process and system, and Nigeria has been able to pilot test it in previous elections, and so they have corrected some of the mistakes along the way, and especially technology fails, and there are times that there may be other errors that may occur during the conduct of the elections. So Nigeria has been learning from the pilot testing in other elections, and then they are well prepared for the elections on February 25th of this year. So speaking to the INEC chair, he was like, look, we've done this, so it's not our first time. We can tell you for sure that 98% we are good and ready to go because we pilot tested it. Unlike Liberia, Liberia tested this. We are doing it for the first time. This is going to, of course, it is important that the BVR system, how are we going to make sure that there are no duplication, because there will be facial recognition, there will be issue about fingerprint and all of that. But then it importantly, voter trucking. Politicians have been using, to their advantage and taking people from one place to another to register for them and then back to vote, when there's elections. So the BVR, the advantage of that is that it's going to reduce voter trucking, but then also the system needs to be trusted. I know that NEC have said this is going to be only for registration. We're not going to use electronic voting machines, unlike Nigeria, that is using electronic voting machines and also the manual ones. For us, we're going to just show the BVR cards, our photo cards, and then there's going to be facial recognition or a kind of a fingerprint to identify, but the verification processes are different. There won't be the kind of electronic verification process during elections day. There's going to be a manual one for Liberia, unlike Nigeria that is going to have the electronic verification process. So in Liberia, it's only the registration that is going to curtail a lot of other things, including photo tracking and the manual.
Okay. The internet is bad in your end, Matthias.
Yeah, I think it's a Lone Star network these few days. But I hope you can hear me now. Am I okay?
I'm hearing you, dude. Yes. Yeah, it is a little bit okay, but the heat is still coming.
Okay. Yeah.
Matthias?
So
okay.
Yes. So as I said, we've been partnering with NEC and also getting some more information from them, meeting them frequently so that they abreast us with some of the things they are doing. We are also observing the political space and how things are pre-campaigning and all of that. And
I want to
issue a report. Issue a release, a press release on that, and with the weakness in NEC not executing the laws, the electoral laws as prescribed and under our law. So we are concerned about it, and we think that it is a matter of fact that NEC.
Okay. Matthias, the internet is really bad from your end. I hope you can change your location so we will have you much better on the platform this afternoon. The internet is coming in bits and pieces from your end. The hitches. Yeah, I hope you can change.
Okay, let me set it up and come back.
Okay. So Augustine Tamba, let me come back to you. He was in speech with something that I would have asked had he not even talked about that. The billboards, the one with President Weah on it, the Retire Sovereign campaign by the ANC, the Unity Party program that was held with GNB. Do those things constitute pre-election campaigning in the views of Leo?
To a larger extent, the fact that you have placards depicting the pictures of candidates who have specific interests in the upcoming election, one could conclude yes, to say that these are pre-campaign efforts by would-be candidates in the election, especially where some of them have made it very clear that they are going to be contesting in the upcoming elections. And so, yes, we believe that with those visible billboards erected across the country, or let me say across the city, and in some part of the country, will constitute pre-campaigning. And there are laws, punishable laws that are prescribed by the National Election Commission.
So can we say NEC is weak on this issue?
Well, it's not to attribute the word weak, but I think NEC needs to step up its game, because NEC is the referee here. I mean, everybody will be looking at the National Election Commission as to what specific action they will take in this regard. So, for instance, if the NEC will be able to clearly be state her position as it relates to the way people are now moving about with all of the flyers in the streets, it will put NEC in a position where the citizens now will begin to get some level of trust and confidence in the National Election Commission. And this is why, for us, at the level of the Leon, we've been able to basically unpack some of these activities leading to the conduct of the elections, and we've been able to release our activity roadmap to the conduct of the election. And these are things that we are picking up as Leon, right? And so
have you communicated to NEC on this issue? Have you told them? Have you raised concern with this?
So tomorrow there is this meeting with the National Election Commission, and we are hoping that tomorrow this is going to be flagged with the National Election Commission in that regard. However,
but it has been happening for a long while now. Why this time around?
So I mean, because of the proliferation of what is happening and the inaction of the National Election Commission for not putting a basic stop to it, and we are seeing it continuing, and that this has a potential to create violence, in the future. It's not only that we are seeing the issue of pre-campaigning, but what also happened to our city governance laws? What happens to the law that says, about public usage of, the issue about avatars, how people erect billboards across the city. What is the specific law that says this should not happen, or this is how people should be able to conduct themselves in terms of erecting billboards in the street? So all of these things are issues, because if you have a counter to what is currently happening, and in terms of other political parties erecting images of their candidates, you will realize that there will be some level of friction, at some point in time. So the National Election Commission needs to put her feet down high on the ground, and it is not only in Montserrat for us that we are observing this. We are actually observing this, across the country. And in addition to what is currently ongoing here in Montserrat, there are other additional processes that for us as Leon, we are also observing. For instance, the issue about this doing a kind of geo mapping across the country, where we actually intend to basically map the entire country as to where we have our polling places, where basically whether there are network coverage to some of these areas, in terms of the rural connectivity, what are those and the challenges associated towards that. Because Leon intend to do what we call a sample-based observation this year. And that is going to be much more scientific in terms of our observation. We intend to be more data-driven in terms of our observation. So we don't want to call it a parallel vote tabulation exercise. So we are calling it a sample-based observation. And so we're going to be selecting some polling stations that we are specifically going to be monitoring to give us a kind of feedback on the entire elections in 2023.
Matthias, welcome back.
Thank you. I hope I'm clear now.
Yeah, it's much better. Wow,
thank you.
So I was asking, what have you been doing regarding the billboards? Have you engaged NEC to hear what they had to tell you? Have you done that from IRED's angle?
Okay, so I hope I'm clear. Am I okay? Okay. So IRED is a member of the Elections Coordinating Committee, as I said, and the Elections Coordinating Committee released a statement today against pre-campaigning or what we may call premature campaigning. And we have endorsed the statement from the ECC, and I can share a copy of the statement with you. We've condemned the act. We've condemned our next reluctance in executing the law, as prescribed. There should be fines placed. These political parties and individuals need to be caught. These billboards need to be brought down. Flyers and all that need to be brought down, because we are not in a campaign season, and it shows a kind of a disadvantage to others who are law abiding and waiting for campaign season. NEC needs to be proactive in implementing the law and making sure that Liberians can feel and have that confidence in the NEC to supervise and conduct our elections this year. So as I said, we've condemned the act. We've called on political parties to disengage in the process, and especially the ruling party, which is the government. The government needs to show more responsibility in making sure that there is a level playing field for all political parties. You cannot be the one to lead in violating our electoral laws, and electoral ethics of what we as citizens look at and what should be upheld. So we condemn that, and we hope that NEC can take serious actions against those violators.
Another issue that is trending, which I would like to get your input on, the both of you, is this one we saw on Saturday, where state security, precisely the executive protective officials, were seen on Saturday wearing the T-shirts of President George Weah at a political rally. What have been the position of your respective institutions, beginning with you, Augustine?
Well, let me say this, that state securities are meant to be neutral in election processes, and they are meant to provide security, the overall security for the entire process, and that is to ensure that citizens get confidence in the election process, and they are not to take sides. We think that any security apparatus that is involved into the wearing of political parties' T-shirts or whatever regalia that a political party has, and its state security is wearing that, we think that is wrong, and it should not be accepted in our democracy.
Did you not see it on Saturday?
Well, that has not been fully reported by our observers. We might be looking at our information maybe after today to really see that if that was actually reported, and then we can be able to state our clear position on that as an institution. But generally, I mean, security apparatus, men in uniform, are intended to provide a general service to the country and not to an individual or to a political party. And these are warning signs, right? That if state securities wear a party uniform, they automatically disarm themselves of that role they should be playing as state security, and they will more or less be seen as sympathizers of that political party. So anything that will be happening contrary to what they believed already by the example they have given by wearing these party regalia, I mean, it falls short of the international or acceptable standards.
And NEC should be doing something about this.
I mean, basically, the National Election Commission has that responsibility to ensure that all of these exercises fall within the acceptable regulations, and for all political parties. But that also falls on the state security themselves. And the authority of the state security need to be watching their men out there in the field. So, for instance, if you deploy, your security men to guard a particular political rally, you need to ensure that you have a regular checkup.
Will those people go and wear the t-shirts of President Weah unknown to the endorsement of the EPS boss?
Well, you can say, I mean, the EPS boss,
when they were seen openly?
Well, if they were seen openly, but I mean, what I don't want to do is to attribute individual actions to the overall and the action of the boss, but the failure of the boss to take action if you see these things, I mean, visibly being done or displayed on social media, then comes in the question of his oversight responsibility on his men, because he needs to ensure that the security of our country, the security of the state, lies within the fairness and their credibility as a security actor. If he cannot take action as the boss, then that falls squarely on his lap. I mean, then with that, you can attribute the fact that he has not taken action and on these guys. It means that by that silence means that he consent to their, to their action. But at this point, I think it is for us to put the responsibility on his lap to ensure that he upped his game as the EPS board. And it's not only about the EPS board. I mean, we are talking about the police director. We are talking about the armed forces of Liberia. We are talking about the immigration and all, I mean, security apparatus that we have in our country. They need to maintain the civility of the state. They need to maintain the peace and tranquility of this state by not identifying themselves with a particular political party, no matter what. And whatever or whoever personnel, security personnel that is found in that act need to be prosecuted. And I think also we as citizens play a very pivotal role in that. So you as a journalist and other journalists around need to now begin the process of picking up these security personnel.
What does that also speak to the democratic credential of the sitting president to have allowed such thing to happen right before his eyes in the public there?
Well, I mean, there are. I don't know really what you try to push.
No, the point I'm pushing is, does that show a good democratic credential of a government that boasts about such?
No, I mean, on a general note, you will agree with me that in these kind of processes where you have multitude of people, the president, for instance, might not be particular on all those who are around him, except wherein it is proven that probably the EPS officers that were very close to him was actually wearing his party t-shirt. But the overall statement that I'm making is the fact that once that is identified and is brought to the attention of the EPS boss, for instance, the EPS boss now is under moral obligation to taking action against these people, so that we try to diverge what your professional role is as an EPS officer to that of the support that you are giving to a particular political party. And I think the allegiance of any security personnel should be to the country rather than to an individual. So all of those individuals who are men and women, wearing our state uniforms, must understand that the security of the country depends on the way they carry themselves. And
let me come in with this other concept that we see while Matthias is setting up his internet situation. The issue of militancy that we see in political parties. From one political party to the other, we see the formation of a militant group within the party. Is that supposed to be happening, and is that a good practice?
No, that is never a good practice.
But we see
it
that
is actually happening. It is actually happening across nearly all of the political parties in our country. And one specific reference that we have to make, and we picked that up in the 2020, I think, Senate election that was in Lofa. Now, it becomes much more dangerous when you shift the minds of young people to complete militancy, and in terms of pushing a complete ideas in them as to the political party's philosophy.
Yeah.
Militancy all by itself and they don't teach anything positive, right? I mean, they prepare your mind as an agent
to be combative.
Yes, as an agent to respond, to issues negatively. So I think youth militancy in all political parties must be condemned, especially as we move towards the elections. And that is where we are much more very careful as to what happens to young people in terms of their political participation, what role young people need to play specifically, I mean, in terms of using their energy towards ensuring that the democratic process is free and credible, I mean, in countries. So youth militancy across all the political parties must be condemned to the very highest.
Okay, let me come back to Matthias. What is IRED's position on the situation of EPS officials that were seen wearing the T-shirt of President Weah at a political rally? What is your position on that?
Okay, so no, it is unfortunate that our country is returning to there are signs of the dark days under despotic regimes such as the Charles Taylor regime, and other regimes where state security apparatus were seen as partisans, of the ruling party, and wearing political regalias, to show loyalty to the president and and the power that be. It is unfortunate that we are gradually going down. We are gradually going down that route, and we think that it is important that we disengage from these things, and as a country, we want to unequivocally condemn the act of state security apparatus wearing party regalias, and where those EPS are security of the presidency. They are supposed to protect the presidency, not the president. And that's one thing that people need to understand. There is a difference between the president and the presidency. So you have to protect the presidency, which is anyone who is in that position, who is serving in that position, will have to be protected by you. So when there is a new government, we do not intend and we do not want to see that there is a change of our executive protection service guys. They need to remain because they should be loyal to the presidency, but not to the president. And it's unfortunate that has happened. We will want a prompt action by the EPS director. Those who were involved need to be investigated, and actions need to be taken, and such as disrobing them, and making sure that doesn't happen again. Because when we see people in those kind of things who are supposed to be protecting the presidency and showing that kind of independence to in this kind of time, it is troubling, because it's no different from those who were around President Taylor as malicious, who were protecting him and wearing all the fatigues that were ascribed to him. We have strived enough for our democracy as a country, as citizens, and we do not want to see a repeat of the dark days. And so we call on even the president, President Weah, to know and understand that these elections will be his greatest legacy, not just the building of the roads, because anything that happens contrary to maintaining the peace and sustaining the peace that we enjoy today, even having a clear transition, of government to the next government. Now I'm being clear to say government to the next government, not regime. I'm saying government to the next government. It could be he coming back. It could be someone else. Being in that position.
Okay.
So needs to respect the rule of law and making sure that our security is non-political.
Let me ask this question now, Augustine. The NEG, you talk about issues with the biometric process, some other issues, but I'm also concerned, have you identified, I mean, as an institution, maybe laws in the electoral laws that need some reform? Are there some reformation that need to take place with laws before we go to election to get some clarity on things ahead of election? Have you identified any law that poses ambiguity?
Yeah, sure. We did a complete analysis of the recommendations that were made by election observers in 2017.
Okay.
And also in 2020 when we observed the Senate elections, and we made specific recommendations to the National Election Commission.
Regarding which law?
Regarding, for instance, the issue about the adjudication of election dispute cases. So that was highlighted. We highlighted the issue about women political participation on the basis that that law was not very specific in terms of, or that law could not be enforceable with the language that was used basically in the law, because the previous law provided that parties could endeavor to ensure political parties have 30% women political participation. That became quite difficult for the National Election Commission to basically enforce in terms of holding political parties and accountable. So as a joint collaboration amongst civil society organizations, we were able to push, for instance, to ensure that that language is reversed within the new election law.
It was done.
It was done. But
Okay.
the unfortunate aspect is the fact that since the legislature acted on that law, the law has not been able, the president,
to be printed into handbills.
Into handbills.
Okay.
So the president have not been able to sign that law into handbill, which makes it extremely difficult for it to actually take effect on this election.
Sure.
So a couple of other issues, for instance, on the issue about the changing of the election timetable, and some of these proposals that we were making had some constitutional requirements, because if you change one portion of the new election law, it has some time constitutional provisions with it. But with the current law before the legislature, if I may put it, and the president spelled out clearly what needs to be done ahead or between now and the 2023 and the general presidential election. There were issues about the amount charged for candidate registration. We thought that at some point in time, the initial proposal that was made by the legislature was just exorbitant, and that would have impeded the rights of other citizens. And we thought that the issue of fees should not be the sole concern of us revising the election law. So yes, there were those specific calls in terms of changes in the new election law. We actually made them specifically to affect these upcoming elections.
Okay, both of you talk about what NEG has been doing and what NEG is not doing. Have you as well been monitoring media institutions? I am concerned with this issue because the media also have got a very critical role to play. What happens in the media has the likelihood of resulting to a peaceful election or sparking some level of tension. From the state-owned media to other private institutions, what has been the observance, your view, your assessment so far with the Liberian media ahead of the election? We've seen people at state media. I just want to get your view on this subject. Matthias, also, you can weigh in on this issue with the media, the role the media is playing ahead of the October election.
So,
yeah, Matthias?
Oh, okay.
I want to get
Yes.
Matthias on this and then you can come in. Yeah, I was asking what has been your assessment of the Liberian media in the electoral process, ranging from state-owned media where people are supposed to have access to the state-owned media per law, the conduct of media institutions. What has been your assessment thus far?
Thank you. I think the media has played some level of role in everything that is happening, from providing the rightful information to the public, to some level of instigating the level of insecurity and conflict, in our society during this electoral process. I also think, and it's my candid observation of what the media has does. Have done so far. There are media institutions that are pro-government. They speak everything about government. They give information, sometimes that are not factual. There are media institutions that are also pro-opposition. They speak everything good about the opposition, and then give some information that are also not factual. But then the media plays a very important role in our democracy and in maintaining the peace, in Liberia. And the media will either break the peace this year or help to maintain the peace. As civil society organizations, the media is like a fourth estate. It's like fourth estate, and the media is the watchdog, just as civil society is, to making sure that we maintain our peace and also alert citizens about things that are happening. So I think on the public side, the state-owned media institution I've seen more of leaning on the side of the ruling government, with covering most of the things that they do, and all of the and giving more time, and space and airtime to government institutions. I think we need to have a kind of open, space and equal for everyone, because that is a state-owned, broadcasting system. Is not a party, driven broadcasting system. It's supposed to be for every Liberian, and no matter your political affiliation or whatever place of work, and so forth. And I also think that the media can do better in helping civil society and helping Liberians, to showcase Liberia and the work that we do, as a country, and also try as much to reduce the level of tension in the country and violence. Because look, to have a peaceful elections in Liberia, it is key and it's very important to our survivability as a country and maintaining the peace in the region. There is no country right now that is ready to hold refugees from Liberia into any other country. Sierra Leone is going to elections in June. Nigeria is going to elections this month on the 25th, and Liberia is going to elections.
No country is ready. Bring in Augustine on this one. Augustine, you were already saying something about the media. So I will come back to you, Matthias.
So I think one of the fundamental problems we have in our country is political ownership of the media.
Okay.
Most of our media institutions are directly or indirectly owned by people who have vested interest in our body politics. And so if a media institution is owned by a politician, you will realize that at the end of the day, that media institution, both their airtime, their messages on these media institutions tilt towards their owner. And so that is a very major challenge, for our media institution in our country. And that actually plays out, especially when during election period, right? on election day, you will see that media institutions who are pro-government and media institutions who are pro-opposition, their reportage in terms of the numbers they call, on their different media institutions, they are quite well different. You will hear a journalist who should be a professional person, by the way, with, I mean, try to read out numbers and call places that does not exist and that do not exist at all on our in our entire process. So we think that this is a very challenging for our entire democratic process, and I think the observance of the law and the role of the PUL need to be very clear. Even the government needs to play a kind of very clear role in terms of how they regulate these media institutions. Talking about the state and own media, I have my own disappointment in terms of the way things have unfolded at the level of the state and at the level of state radio. But you will basically understand that the way currently ERBC is structured, it has to play that role that the team currently there is actually playing.
Because they are appointed.
This is not unique to the team that are there currently. And I mean, nobody should get me wrong. I mean, ERBC has always played that role, supporting government because they are appointed by the power that be. So this is why people have been calling that ERBC needs to transform instead of it being called a state radio to a public broadcaster. So if it is a publicly owned, people who get to ERBC will feel obligated to the state other than to the power that be, the appointing power. So I think that is the major challenge that we have with our media institutions and what have you. And it's going to get even worse as we move towards the 2023 general and presidential elections. These media institutions will now start to propagate the sides that they are actually supporting. So, I mean, it's widespread across the country. There are community radio stations that you hear. This is a community radio station, but in essence, it's owned by a politician. And if a media institution is squarely owned by a political actor, you don't expect those who sit on or behind the microphones on those different media institutions to say anything other than what their master will want to actually hear. So that becomes challenging in terms of the information that they put out.
You and Matthias, okay, I get that. I get your point. Let me pose this question briefly because we are out of time with you guys. The incumbent has this thought of entitlement of a second term. You hear people say 12 years for sure. Folks in the opposition believe that the ruling establishment has not done well. As such, they have to give way by October. Incumbents saying more or less they're feeling this entitlement of a second term. Folks in the opposition believe that you don't have, people are not even willing to hear you talk about you going back for 6 years. What involvement, what could be done in this slide in terms of maybe detecting fraud in the process? How can we ensure that we come in between to make sure that we detect whether fraud or any kind of foul play in the election?
So
from any angle.
Okay. So the first thing we are doing, and as Leon, is to ensure that we don't leave any process untouched. All of the processes involved with the electoral cycle, we are observing all of these processes in all aspects. I just indicated to you that on the issue of the biometric recruitment, because election all by itself, when people talk about election rigging, it's not rigged. Elections are not rigged on election day. They are rigged through the processes. And it is those processes that we think that once you try to place eye on these processes, you will ensure that the right thing is done. And at the end of the day, you will be able to give a kind of holistic idea. So the first thing we're doing is to observe the processes. And I indicated to you that Leon is involved into this geo mapping and exercise. We're going to map the country and to all of where we are going to be deploying our observers on election day. We have designed and developed a mechanism to actually observe that election. I also indicated to you that we have 73 long-term observers that are already stationed in each electoral district. We intend to up that number to 2 persons and per district, so that we give them specific areas, especially hard to reach areas, and across the country where specifically our eye as Leon is going to be stationed between now and the conduct of the elections. So these are things that we think, and these are critical roles that we think that civil society organizations can play to ensure that we minimize the issue of any attempts for fraud, or to ensure that you rig elections and so forth. So we are systematically following this process. And like I said, the sample-based observation we are going to get involved with is actually scientific. It's going to give us the figures, and we're going to keep those figures at the end of the day.
Okay.
That analysis is going to be matched against what the National Election Commission is going to be pronouncing, and as the body responsible to announce election.
Okay.
So these are the processes that we are in, and we will get involved with.
Matthias from Matthias Network. Okay, let's get him on.
I'm here.
Okay. So I'm asking, what could be done with this issue of the incumbent having this thought about entitlement to a second term, and the opposition having this thought that you've not performed well, therefore you have to leave the stage. Your time is out.
Okay, so if I got you well, you asking us about the incumbent having entitlement to a second term,
feeling a sense of entitlement to a second term. So the issue of, I was asking about the issue of fraud. How do you detect it in this process from both angles?
I think it is a prerogative of any politician to think that they are entitled to being elected or being re-elected. However, as an incumbent, it is your responsibility to make sure that there is free, fair, and transparent elections. Around the region, we can see lessons from elections that were supposedly rigged or seem to be rigged, and what happened, the outcome of them. We've seen a lot in Guinea and other places. We've seen some in Mali and so forth. So we do not want that kind of instability, in our country. So it is incumbent upon the incumbent to make sure that our elections are free and fair. However, we as IRED, through our elections coordinating committee, of course, in collaboration with Leon, are going to monitor and observe the elections come October 10. However, we are making all the efforts and currently monitoring the processes leading towards elections. We're going to monitor the biometric voter registration that is going to be conducted. We have been monitoring processes and have been documenting them and reporting, to NEC and our stakeholders, and making sure that we make these elections free and fair. It is incumbent upon not just us as civil society organizations, but as citizens, that you do not go, or attempt to register 2 times because you want to vote, increase the number of a particular politician. When you are caught, you will be dealt with according to the. So it is a 3-way street with both civil society, the incumbent, and the citizens of Liberia.
And just in addition, like you are saying, every politician feels entitled, but we just want to let them know that both Leon and ECC are not going to rest on this election.
Okay.
We are going to ensure that if anybody wins this election, it must be on the basis of transparency.
Okay.
It must be on the basis of credibility. It must be on the basis that you apply the true efforts.
Fairness.
Fairness that will make you to win the election. As a matter of fact, ECC and Leon now will be going through we'll be signing an MOU leading towards this process, and that's going to be the biggest collaboration between citizen observer groups in the country.
Okay.
And if you think that maybe it is only Leon will only be stationed at this point, no. Our approach to this election as citizen observer, we want to ensure that we are everywhere as citizen observer to be able to ensure that we don't have fraud in these elections. I mean, and again, it's not for us to tread on rumors. As citizen observers, we're going to ensure that we follow the processes.
Okay.
And whatever report that we are going to be sending out to the general public, we will make sure that these reports are credible and they are reliable. So we can assure the general public that we are not going to rest. And I mean, this about the future of our country and anything that we are going to do as citizen observer.
I'll take that as your concluding statement.
The best of our ability. Thank you.
Okay. Matthias, let me hear you wrap up quickly.
Thank you, and let me say thank you for the invite. It was welcoming being here. Let me say that IRET, along with the ECC and in collaboration with Leon, of course, we're going to make sure that these elections is well monitored from the get-go of what we're doing up to the time of voting, the time of counting, and everything. And if there are any discrepancies, we're going to raise it, we're going to report it, because these elections is not just about changing, political power. It is about maintaining the peace in Liberia and the region, and it's about the lives of citizens and us who are also in this process to make sure that this thing, and it's also with the support. The support that comes from our international partners. I want to say thank you to our international partners, the USAID, the UNDP, the Swedish government, and others who are supporting us in making sure that we monitor the process and to have a free, fair, and transparent elections and violent-free elections.
Thank you.
Thank you. October 10th. Thank you.
Matthias Yende is the executive director of IRET, that's the Institute for Research and Democratic Development. Also in studio this afternoon have been the head of secretariat of Leon, the Liberia Elections Observation Network, Augustine Tamba. Gentlemen, thank you so very kindly that you could share the platform with us on this afternoon. Thank you. We're going to take this short break. When we come back, we continue with the program. This is Punch TV. The program is Trending Issue. Stay with us.
If you now want betray, fire friend let me.
Bombe oh, fire friend let me. Bombe jene oh, fire friend let me. Bombe, fire friend let me. Bombe jene oh, fire friend let me.
Hey, see bestie, your bestie not sweet like my bestie. Your bestie la bestie, fire friend let me.
I say, see bestie wanting to happy.
Thank you for joining us back on the program. This is Trending Issue on Punch TV. My name is Vanny Dix. Sorry that we could not bring you Isaac Jackson and the Senator of Lofa County, Steve Zago, who chairs the Senate Standing Committee on Intelligence, Security, and Veteran Affairs. But trust me, they will be here on the platform, hopefully, during the course of this week. But we will open the phone lines subsequently to get your interaction on 775-145-832, 775-8510. That's 8510-17 is an alternative line for you to call. 0775-8510-17 is an alternative line for you to call and participate on the platform this afternoon. The key issues that are unfolding have got to do with the George Weah renomination program, which was held on Saturday, and also the word of words that have ensued between Senator Johnson and President George Weah. From the inception of this program, I did proffer my own fair analysis about the CDC-led government. In my view, this government has not performed well. The CDC-led government has not performed well, in my view. The reason is very simple. Liberians elected this government for a change of their story. When President Weah or the CDC was in opposition, the key thing that they championed was the upliftment of the people from abject poverty to improving their well-being. This we have not been seeing forthcoming. The issue of providing jobs for young people, this we have not seen forthcoming. The issue of mustering the political will to fight corruption, this also we have not been seeing forthcoming. The issue of paving roads, these things were done during Madam Sirleaf government, but yet people in the opposition said that the issue of job was not forthcoming. The issue of the economy, the well-being of the people were not being sought after by the Unity Party-led government. So now, 5 to 6 years down the line, Liberians are yet to see a change of story. Liberians are yet to see a change of story. The situation on Saturday, I can tell you that people were coerced. People were coerced to actually go there. I know for sure that the folks that are involved with the Beach and Waterways project, that they were coerced. They were told that if they did not form part of that exercise, they will not be compensated along the way. They were also promised that there would have been increment in their compensation in the years moving along. So the momentum that the CDC had back in 2017, 2005, 2006, that momentum has really dropped. The momentum of the CDC in 2005, 2006, that momentum has dropped. This is something you can't argue. A government that came to power and said we will improve the well-being of the people, that has not done that. And you want someone to believe that this government is still popular with the people? I can tell you that there are civil servants that were in the streets on Saturday that are dissatisfied with the government, but they had to be there because their bosses had asked them also to be in the streets. From one community to the other, ministers of government had to pay people to be in the streets on Saturday just to give an impression to President Weah that he is still loved by the people. From 2005, Liberians that were supporting Weah, they had a single voice. They had a single goal, and that single goal was to ensure that Weah became president. 2017, citizens had a single goal, a single voice of making Weah a president. That voice, that single goal has changed over the last several years. Reason is because Weah now has something that people can measure him by. Weah now has something that we can measure him by. This man said Liberians would have received a living wage under his presidency. Do you know what constitutes a living wage? It means President Weah had done an analysis of the economic situation in this country, and he came to the conclusion that there is a certain threshold of salary that people in this country has to be paid in order to survive. In his State of Nation address, he said his government is going to ensure that people receive minimum wage of $150. CDC has failed the Liberian people. This is something you cannot contest. All the people are doing now is to see how they can buy some level of sentiment from the public. And like I have indicated, in the streets of Monrovia and across this country, There are people who are saying, I voted for President Weah in 2005 and 2017, but 2023, he's not going to have my vote. There are people who are saying, I voted for Weah in 2017. This time around, I'm going to vote for an opposition candidate. These are glaring reality in the public space. Ministers of government are doing everything they can to make Mr. Weah to believe that he's still loved by the people. Nothing is going to show the winner in these elections but the ballot box. It is the ballot box that will determine who wins the October elections. And it is the vote of the people that will decide the winner of the election, not the other way around. Not the other way around. And this is the reason why international actors, the issue on Saturday, they're taking it for a joke. But when I spoke with a very big civil society actor in this country, he told me, Dix, when we saw the footages of EPS people with the t-shirt of President Weah, we immediately forwarded same to our international contacts to have them on the alert of a possible abuse of state power ahead of the October elections. And people see these things as things that will just be swept under the carpet. The election in October, the votes will decide the winner in the electoral process in October. 775-85-10-17, 0775-85-10-17 is the number that you can call and form part of the discussion this afternoon on trending issue. This is Sponge TV. We are very sorry that we could not have you with our guest Isaac Jackson and the senator from Lofa County to talk about the situation also that he's taking on the floor. He told me that he has done a communication that is going to be presented to plenary on tomorrow at the Liberian Senate. He's taking up issues with the EPS. This is what we have said. The issue regarding the EPS calls for total dissolution of that body if a new leader wins the election in October. A cause for dissolution of EPS in October. And if you are in the diaspora, you would like to participate, 0886 064679. You just have to add +321. +321 886 064679 +231 886 064679 is the WhatsApp number that you can call this afternoon. If you are there, it is nighttime. 0886 064679 886 064679 is the WhatsApp number you can call to form part of the discussion. So again, we will not meet on our words to say that President Weah has not lived up to the mandate of uplifting the Liberian people from poverty. The key thing that a government would do, if the government is serious about empowering the people, is to create opportunities for the people to translate their living condition. CDC has not done this. This has not been done by President Weah. A leader that took office in 2018, the very year he took office, was the year he started erecting condominiums all across the place. Can that leader be serious? Does that leader have any moral voice to say the interest of the people was what I had in heart all along? In 2017, when I did my own research, President Weah played soccer with JJ Okocha, Kanu, and other acclaimed soccer stars. If you talk to the internet and research and say Kanu's wealth and mansion, you will see things popping up from different sources telling you what Kanu is worth. Samuel Eto'o at the time, 2017, if you did your research, Samuel Eto'o's wealth and property, his net worth, so many information pop off. But there was nothing to show. There was nothing to show for President Weah. Weah did not have anything to show to the Liberian people. This man had gone completely bankrupt. And this is why the former CDC chairman said that Weah was at some point in time living with him in the US. Yes, George Solo did say that at the time, that President Weah had gone completely bankrupt. Weah had gone completely bankrupt back then. That was one reason why immediately he took office, the first thing he thought to do was to accumulate state wealth all to himself. Was to have accumulated wealth all to himself. Because this man had squandered his personal wealth. Imagine the person that is presiding over the nation. The man that is supposed to solve our problem cannot even solve his own problem. That was a mistake the Liberian people made back in 2017. And that mistake is what the people are all set to rectify in October in 2023. President Weah have got nothing tangible to point to say this is the reason I should be re-elected. Don't point to the roles, the few projects that were begun by President Sirleaf. The key issue you're going to be measured by is the economy, the bread and butter issue. And these things have not been done. And you're coming back and you say the Liberian people should give you power. You have to pay people now. It is CDC today that have to pay people to come in the street. It is CDC today that have to be printing t-shirts for people. Back then when CDC were the ones doing it on their own volition, this is now a different situation. CDC is not the one we used to know, where young people used to be every morning to night. Young people used to be on the grounds of the CDC, the headquarters. That has changed. You can go from one community to another, program government ministers, coerce beach and waterway Omar and Papeden to come at 8 years, government ministers, lawmakers from the CDC angle, coercing people to come and form part of a rally, and you say that is the barometer to measure that this government is being loved by the people. You're joking. And so we are saying this, and we will be very firm on this, that the CDC-led government promised to have done things for the people which were very consequential. Those things have not been achieved. You told the people while you are in opposition, if we take office, there will be an establishment of a war crimes court. You told the people this country that relying on iron ore and rubber, Liberians will be producing their own rice. You told the people in this place that jobs would have been the order of the day. These are the key issues. Don't make the Unity Party to appear as though when they were in power, they did not build structures. The ministerial complex today, comprising of at least 6 to 7 buildings, hosting government functionaries. The NASCO building at the ELWA junction. The Ministry of Public Works renovation exercise. The Jackson F. Doe Hospital, the RRA new terminal. All of the roads in central Monrovia that President Weah and his ministers are conveying on to work. All of these things. The hydro that was destroyed during the war came alive during Madam Sirleaf's period. The white plane, water plane there, LWSC, came alive. So when you try to portray this picture in the image of in the eyes of the people, as though the government that was there did not do anything. Okay, you did the military hospital. Then Unity Party did the Jackson Hebdo Hospital, reconditioned the JFK that was dilapidated prior to after the Civil War. All of the structures were set up. It's just that you get football games, someone set the football and say can't take free kick. That's what is happening under the CDC-led government. Many of our public administration, the institutions we see today, from the GAC, people talk about the LACC, all these structures were put into place by your predecessor. And then today, the picture that is being presented in the public is as though nothing was done. The key issue that you told the people while you were in opposition was to have made sure that the young people in this country, let me say something. If it weren't for this motorbike riding, the tricycle issue, keke, that young people feel to themselves that they are self-empowered, you think the expectation they have for a CDC government, you think this is what they expected to have seen? That different thing you're going to see. On a serious note, but it is because most of the young people have their attention redirected to motorbike riding, to keke, so they just pay little attention to what Mr. Weah and his folks have been doing. All of the building President Weah put down at RIA, if you did that as a factory to absorb young people, do you know how many young people will be working? All of the buildings that President Weah put down at the RIA, those condominiums, those structures, just dispatch them from one district to the other and fill them with infrastructural things, with manufacturing things, and say, we're going to be carrying on production. And see the number of young people that will have job. These things did not happen. The government cannot provide any statistics and tell you these are the number of people that we've lifted out of poverty. These are the number of people that we provided jobs to. You came and met Zogos on the street. You're leaving them right on the street. You came and met people complaining every day about the bread and butter issue. You're going to leave them the same way complaining about these things. Let us forget about these minute projects that when they are done and people flag them on Facebook, then then why did you remove the Unity Party? Because they too have some projects to show. They didn't come on the stage and left with their hands folded. If I should start naming the projects that Unity Party did in this country, then people will say, oh, that 12 years. If I should start naming the projects that Unity Party, why people quick to forget? The issue, why people quick to forget? The place Unity Party took this country from, had it been President Weah, a man who came to the political limelight with gross incompetence, inexperience, had it been President Weah back in 2005, then that different you're talking. Because this man had little or no understanding about running a community. Needs to talk about a whole country. Where Unity Party took this country from. And today it appears as though the Unity Party came and left the stage with doing nothing. The central bank today, nobody talk about these structures anymore. Why? Because the party is out of power. So this is why we say, don't point at structures as CDC. Then there was no reason for you to have said these people should leave. But there were key issues you were flagging while you were in opposition, like the War Crimes Code, jobs, corruption, fighting corruption, mastering the political will. But today, the president is whining and dining, swimming in the pool of corruption. While you were in opposition, Sorry, there was a technical constraint that we experienced a moment ago. But wheresoever you're watching us from, let me see if I can read some of the comments that we have popping up on the platform before we take leave of you on the program this afternoon. Let me acknowledge some of our viewers. Jerry Dougley says, I'm following. Adolphus Taylor says, I'm following. Let me acknowledge some of you this afternoon before we take leave of you on the program. Jerry Dougley, I'm following. I read that already. Elko Pape says, watching from Minnesota. James Saki, I am feeling. He did not end that statement. Archie Lee J. Kroma says, I'm following from Old Road. Margaret, okay, there is Sarah Putu Way. Increase, okay. She says, increase your volume. Increase your volume, son. We can hear you saying that. We can hear you saying that we were paid and threatened to go to 8 years. Thanks for the program. Increase your volume, son. We can hear you say that we were. Okay, she's talking about the statement that I know for sure that the Oma and Pape in my era on the beach and waterway project, they were threatened, they were coerced to be a part of the exercise on Saturday. Indeed, that was what happened. Bags of rice were seen in my area on the week before the program on Saturday. The city t-shirts were also being distributed to folks in my area on Saturday. We did see that. Some of the old man Pape then right in my yard. Right in my yard. In fact, the other lady, two ladies, they walked up to the St. Paul's Bridge and they came back. I said, oh my, but what happened? You're coming back. They said, the people said they were bringing bus for all, but we went up Banjo Junction and they said no bus. So we all said we was small, we tired, we can't continue. That was what happened. Okay, Ambassador Francis C says, I'm following from Leon's office. Joe Swakoli Jinan, following from Margibi County. Sarah Putuway say, is he himself not a killer? What happened to our three missing boys, our auditors? God is watching. Let him continue his wicked ways. Let me see what Sarah Putu again says. It is sad our beautiful country is on Clarence Springs, that no one is waiting to buy her from the market because she has no more value under those criminals. Tenemo, I am following from the Liberia Elections Observation Network head office. Joseph Fire says, Weah and Prince Johnson, there is no difference between the two. Killing one and other killed the more. They all are called killers. Eric F. Massacre, hello, I'm following from Bannersville, Broadville, District 17. That's all the time we have, gentlemen, on the program. This is Punch TV. We have been here since 4 this afternoon. My name is Vanny Dix. I'd like to thank you so very kindly for the fact that you could take up your time this afternoon to be with us. Tomorrow, Diamond Slanger is going to be on the platform. Cherio Seger has been in the background, as well as Victor, making sure that we have been live on the platform this afternoon. Not much to be said. Have yourselves a wonderful and a pleasant Monday. Have yourself a good time. Bye-bye.
If you now want to betray a fire friend like me.
Bombe oh, fire friend let me. Bombe chene oh, fire friend let me. Bombe, fire friend let me. Bombe chene oh, fire friend let me.
Hey, see bestie, your bestie not sweet like my bestie. Your bestie da la bestie.
The government of Bureau that has no interest in the future of this country. This is the microcosm of the larger society. This is where young men have the responsibility to provide the next best alternative of this country. And you are subjecting us to an environment where we struggle every day to acquire tertiary education, You are subjecting us to an environment where young people have to pay $50 a month to go to school, where if you're in laboratories, there is no access to quality facility. It is the government we elected, the government and the administration of the University of Liberia conspire against the students. And today we'll say, yeah,